Every year, there is an introduction of these new trends that people think are going to be timeless. You know, I hate that word. It is a myth because our styles are ever changing, but today we are going to go through the most recent viral design trends that I think are not going to last the next 5 years. So this is why you're here. You're listening to me to tell you exactly what to pay attention to and what to avoid, and we're gonna get right into it. I know we've talked about this before, but first on the chopping block is going to be micro cement. It is a very beautiful finish when done well. The problem is that so many people are DIYing it themselves, and it's taking away the integrity and the design purpose of what micro cement actually does and how it looks in your space. I get it. Micro cement is really going to give you that seamless look. If you want a space to look expansive and larger, this is how you do it because you're minimizing the grout lines and those site details that break up the space. So many people that are DIYing this are putting up micro cement without a structural backing. And what's even worse is I've seen a lot of DIYers that are putting it up over tile. My God, if you are putting it up over tile, at least fill in the grout, because once they actually have the application completely done, you can see where the existing grout lines are in because it's concaved slightly on where it's placed. Because there are so many DIYers that have been doing this, it has become widely popular. And as soon as something becomes widely popular like this, it ends up losing its almost mystery to it that people enjoy actually seeing in this space. As soon as people are like, oh my God, 500 big influencers have it, they're no longer interested because we have this constant exposure to it. Now, micro cement is something that needs to be installed by a professional that knows exactly what they are doing. There are so many brands out there in terms of the quality of micro cement that need to be used correctly. If you're using a cheap micro cement, oh Lord, it's going to crack and it's going to look like absolute garbage. This is one of those finishes that you need to pay for not only a great installer, because this is an artistic talent that is required to install it properly, but you need to be using a higher quality pigment for the proper color, but also for the application. Poor performance and installation always ruin the aesthetic of micro cement, because if you have seen it done terribly, which I'm sure you have on many videos online, you see these hairline cracks around the corners, around the floor. A house or a condo, apartment, or whatever you are using this in an application constantly shifts over time. So just be aware of this, especially if you are in an earthquake prone area. This is not the material for you. Micro cement is one of those applications that needs to be done with patience as well. Just like a lime wash or a Venetian plaster. This is troweled on in a very thin application with multiple layers to get the desired look. Too many people are putting on it very thick, it doesn't dry properly, and it looks sloppy. It literally looks like it's sagging off the walls because the application is not done right. Now, micro cement is waterproof, which is why so many people are using it in bathroom applications. The one challenge that I see with this is because micro cement doesn't have the same strength as a concrete or a cement, do not get that mixed up because the cement is in that word, is that if you are dropping shampoo bottles or something in your shower and you're using it for that seamless application, it is probably going to crack or dent. It does not have the same density as the floor application would for a tile. And that's why I don't think micro cement is going to last the next few years, because there's been so many people that are doing it poorly. The quality of it really takes away from what it needs to be looking like. And I know micro cement is still a very new finish to the market, even though it's been around for years, it's been gaining popularity. But let me know in the comments, have you seen micro cement in person and what's your impression on it, or have you just seen it on Pinterest? Because they are flooding my Pinterest with all of these people that are doing it right now. Next on the chopping block is this grandma chic interior aesthetic. Now, if you watched my previous video on Kendall Jenner's Architectural Digest review, you would see that I wouldn't even call her place grandma chic. She called it grandma chic. I called it a mashup of way too many different period styles that just has this really uncohesive, eclectic look that's honestly not for me, but you need to check out the video because then you can see for yourself. The grandma chic style is all about this revolt of minimalistic and stylistic interiors that look like no one lives there. Now, you can fight me in the comments on this one, but I'm one of those people, I want my house to be styled like no one actually lives there. I know it's not practical, but it keeps my mind at peace. Anthony fights me on that because he leaves dishes everywhere and I'm the one that's cleaning up after him. He needs to wear a bib and I need to follow him when he's vacuuming, just because that's how neurotic I am. Now, the purpose of this Grandma Chic kind of interior design aesthetic is meant to be cozy, lived in, and warm. Now, those feelings that I get from this, I am completely on board with. But the mixture of all these patterns when people are trying to create this Grandma Chic honestly comes off almost hobo-like, which I know probably isn't the PC thing to say in my opinion. But there's something about it that just doesn't feel right. So many people are just collecting antiques and vintage and just putting it all together and have this expectation that when it doesn't work, they're like, it's Grandma Chic. It has this like eclectic feel to it. No, you have no cohesive in the finishes of the different woods, the stains, and the patterns that are going into your space. With nostalgia making a comeback with that 70s and 80s revival that we're seeing now, this is that style that a lot of people are kind of gravitating towards, but I don't foresee it having much lasting power. Grandma Chic is a reaction style. It is not a foundation when it comes to the principles of interior design. There are so many ways you can make your space look chic, lived in, cozy, and warm by layering elements. You don't need to follow a template of someone creating this Grandma Chic of just mixed items and hoping it works. What's old becomes new, then overused, and then replaced. That is the cycle of these trends, and this specific style is not going to last any more than the next year, in my opinion. The real question is, where do you draw the line between character and chaos? Because throwing a bunch of vintage pieces in and hoping they will work is really not doing any justice for your space or for your home. Beige is next on the list. Now, I have already starting to see it on its way out. We originally had the all gray interiors, then we had the all white interiors. We are hitting the cusp of the all beige interiors and on its way out, and this is why it's not working. That being said, a beige interior can be beautiful if it's done correctly, but everyone has been copy and pasting that Pinterest template that falls so flat in your space. You need a level of dimension if you're working with this monochromatic style for it to feel intentional. If you want to make a space look well curated with that monochromatic look, you need dimension and contrast. You can still have that monochromatic look if you want different shades, but they need to be at a higher saturation and a lower desaturated value to put together. You don't want a beige, 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 and beige. You want a dark beige, a light beige, a cream beige, and a piece of contrast that still ties it all together because you want your eye to land on something in a space. If you walk into a room and your eye has no dimension and detail of where to fall, whether it be a light fixture, an art piece, or a piece of contrast, this is where your space falls completely flat. As soon as you bring in a higher contrast piece, whether it be a color or a texture, your eye has something to land on in the space and feels safe. If your eyes are constantly looking, that's when you know you don't have a well-designed room. This is a really recent trend that I'm seeing that it's starting to pick up steam, and honestly, I'm gonna jump on this bandwagon out and say no. This is not for you. It is the acrylic chains that people are putting on display on their countertops, or even worse, hanging on their walls. I know I've always made a joke about the wooden beads being, anal beads that you just on display. If you're into it, I mean, sure, but you don't need to let the world know. This is literally the final boss of that, are the chains. There's probably some underlying racism there, but I don't know. That's for you to decide. Oh, never mind, that's not the final boss. That lady that had the slavery themed bathroom, oof. There's some things you just shouldn't share online, people. This is one of those pieces that really hits that DIY sweet spot that just blows it up online because it's one, easily accessible, two, and affordable. That being said, if you do like something like this, it's a cute, quirky thing to add into your space, but in my opinion, it comes off really childish and it doesn't actually give you the intention of an art or a sculptural piece in your space. It's highly stylistic with no substance. And personally, I like my decor to have a little bit more, oomph in a space. If you have something that's super contrast and highly saturated in color, your eyes, like I mentioned before, are going to be immediately drawn to this item in your space. And what happens when you look at something all the time, you naturally bore of it. This is one of those items. Anything that has a high DIY social buzz, it has the lasting power of maybe a year. It's just picking up now, and if you do like it, by all means, enjoy it in your space. But in my opinion, displaying chains, whether they're metal or acrylic or any material, just don't do it for me. I'm probably gonna get some hate for this one because this is another uprising trend that people are introducing, even though it's not a new detail. It is fringe and tassel. Oh, I have a problem where I cannot control my face when I talk about certain things. And fringe and tassels to me is just the only time I've ever visualized fringe or tassels is in an old Italian nona's house where they have 500 layers and pounds of drapery around their windows that are so heavy and these giant tassels that are this big holding back. There is no level of daintiness, different colors, different materials that can make a tassel and a fringe look really good. Because in my opinion, it really pigeonholes you to a very specific design style, an interior design style that doesn't allow for much variation or many options to introduce other aesthetics. Once again, this is a reaction to that minimalistic style of people wanting to bring in character and more detail. This is not how you do it. Adding on fringe to the bottom of a chair or a sofa and tassels randomly on a delicate piece off the end of a chair is not giving you the detail and substance you want in a room. I've seen way too many people online that are adding these little tiny delicate tassels off the edge of a chair. Or they're putting them on a knob or a handle in their kitchen or bathroom. And I'm just like, Phoenix, just keep scrolling. You don't need to be the one to comment. I just do an eye roll and I move on. But there's something about the perspective and the proportions of a tassel and fringe that need to be appropriate in your space. It comes down to anything that you're adding in. It needs to look like it belongs. And if you're just adding it on for the sake of it because you want to enjoy this trend, by all means enjoy it. But trust me, if I come over and I see that you just tacked on tassels or fringe to the bottom of your furniture piece, or they're just hanging there and it doesn't relate to the interior design style or the period of your home, you're out, and it's a jailable offense, people.
Right to jail, right away.
Once again, because this is an easy DIY, it doesn't have the same enduring power of a trend for people to enjoy and have substance in your room. This isn't a foundational accent that feels purposeful either. I have a bone to pick who thinks these trends are the upcoming, impactful things that people want to see, because the resurgence of high gloss and high lacquer furniture, walls, and ceiling is, I'm gonna say it's questionable, because there are some applications where I've seen it done well. I have seen a beautiful high lacquered ceiling finish that almost creates a mirror of the space in this monochromatic room. In that instance, I think it can be done so beautifully. But people are bringing that high lacquer finish back to furniture and cabinets in their kitchen. You know what that is? Those are high touch points, people. When you have a high touch point with a high lacquer finish, this is where it becomes an absolute nightmare. These high lacquer finishes are highly prone to scratching. If you wear moisturizer, don't, because they are going to attract it more than Mr. Clean will. And if you have any dust in your home, the static electricity of a high gloss finish literally attracts it so much faster than a Swiffer would. These high reflective surfaces look great in staged photos on real estate. You know why? Because they reflect the light around the space perfectly. When you see them in person, it looks like you're looking into a mirror from different angles, and it's reflecting a lot of things that really create way too much visual clutter in your space. The other major issue with these high lacquered finishes is that if you were to damage them, if you were to chip it, or if you were to scratch it, you cannot do a repair job on that patch. Either the entire piece needs to replace, or you need to redo the entire door. This isn't something you can do a little touch up on, so keep that in mind if you are using it. And if you do like this high lacquered finish, like I said before, can be done tastefully in certain scenarios. Make sure it is not a high touch point space or in a high traffic area. Now, this is a safe space, my friends. Let me know in the comments if you have seen any of these in person and if you think they have the lasting power that I am completely against. Now listen, I love a good trend as the next person does, but when it comes to substantial and foundational pieces in your home, this is something to avoid. By all means, if you want an accent pillow, a little small piece of decor that feels on trend with the times, go for it. But keep in mind, you're probably going to get sick of it, especially if it doesn't feel like it belongs in your space or the design style that you've created in your home. Now, if you've made it this far, I can tell that your taste is above average in the design world. And I know that's why you're here to listen to me, to tell you all about the upcoming design trends and what to follow and what not to follow, because I am your design daddy. You can also follow me on Instagram and TikTok for all my daily tips and tricks, because trust me, I have some great content there. We are also so close to finishing our condo for the full reveal, so stay tuned. And if you made it this far, you owe me a like, people. If I made you laugh, you owe me a like. so you better be subscribed. If you're ever second guessing yourself, just ask, what would Design Daddy do?